Hi girls, I wanted to talk to you about lesson 3-8, and this one is elapsed time. And so the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is that word, elapsed time. So I wanted to write it up here. Elapsed time is actually time that has passed. What is elapsed time? Time that has passed. It's going to come up a lot. It's what this whole lesson is about. And I will tell you, it can get really tricky sometimes. But it's the time that's in between a starting point and an ending point. So we're going to do lots of practice with that. For example, if I started my school day at 8 o'clock and I ended my school day at 4 o'clock, I can find the elapsed time, or the time that passed from my starting time to my ending time. So the first thing we want to think about is what we would measure that time in. So you'll hear 8 o'clock, 4 o'clock, maybe you might hear 3:30, that's when that bell rings, right? But what are we measuring time in? I'm probably not counting the seconds for my day. However, we often talk about minutes and hours. So that's what we're going to list our elapsed time as. We'll always have a starting time, and that will be listed as an actual time. So I could say that the students come to school at 8:05 a.m. Then we will have an ending time. That will be listed as just a time on the clock. Also, students leave school at 3:30 p.m. Okay? This elapsed time is going to be listed a little bit differently. You don't list it as a time because this has to be the measurement of how much time has passed. So this will be listed as so many hours and so many minutes. So if we were going to figure out from 8:05 to 3:30, we would need to go and kind of think about how much time has passed. A great tool that we use for this is a number line. And so if you see a number line here, and it would be showing, that'd be a lot of hours. So let me get this going big. Maybe I've got a number line that has 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock, 11:30, 12 o'clock, 12:30, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll go ahead and do that. So I think I started at 8. I'm just going to list my o'clock hours, and we'll know that the longer lines in between are going to be those 30 marks. Now, whenever we are doing these types of number lines, let me go ahead and pivot this a little for you. We know that when we are counting those numbers on our clock, going around the clock in between, each number around a clock represents 5 minutes that have passed. And so I count by 5s in between these, and also there's 5 increments in between. So like I would have 8, 8:05, 8:10, 8:15, 8:20, 8:25, and then here's 8:30. Now because this 5 times 6 is 30, I actually going to put 5 little lines in between, and the 6th line would be the 30. So whenever I'm creating my time number lines, I make these increments of the hours and half hours with my longer lines, and then I just do 5 tiny lines in between, so I don't really have to think about it and can go really fast. And in fact, you can see me do this really fast here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It helps to make sure that your hours and half hours are spaced evenly so that you can go through and do that quickly. It's kind of like a ruler, but instead of measuring length of an object, we're actually going to measure the length of time, or this elapsed time that has passed. So to do this, I always start and I would say, hey, my starting time is 8:05 a.m. So I will actually count this and say, where would 8:05 be? Well, in time I count by fives. And so if I'm starting at 8 o'clock, I would go 5. And it would be this very first mark after the 8 o'clock. So I'm going to use a different color here and mark that with a star and label up that 8:05 a.m. as my starting point. Then I would go on my number line and I would list that ending time. And I've labeled these a star with my start and a dot with my end because it just shows me that that's my stopping point. I'm going to label 3:30 as my stopping point, and that's that one that's halfway between 3 and 4. So I'll go ahead and mark that with my ending dot and label it as 3:30 p.m. So I need to figure out how much time is actually passing from 8:05 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. To do this, I like to count hours first. This one's a little bit funky because we're not on the hour, we're one line past. So from 8:05, I would get a hop to 9:05, 10:05, 11:05, and so I'm just doing that line right after the hour marker each time. 12:05, 1:05, 2:05, 3:05, and if you notice, I can't go to 4:05 because my ending point comes before 4 o'clock. And so I would count how many hours have I passed, and we'll count these humps. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so for my time that passed in between my start and my end, we know that we've gone 7 hours in that time, right? Then I have to see how many extra minutes are hanging out here because we didn't make it to the end. And so I would count by fives from where I stopped my hour count to my actual final stopping point. So I'll do that here. And I just do tiny jumps here. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So there were 25 extra minutes there in between my start and my end for my hours. So my elapsed time from 8:05 to 3:30, the time that passed or my elapsed time will be 7 hours and 25 minutes. We're going to practice this with our stuff today. And so I would like you to go ahead and make sure that you've got scrap paper or your marker board out and you're ready to roll. And I've got just you guys today because I'm playing catch up from being gone. So I'll be really focused on you. If you want to have your textbook out, I'm working off of page 185, so you can have that in front of you to see those tables, but I'll be showing you some of that work too from my book also. I am starting with number 1 to find the elapsed time, and let's get started. Okay, girls, the first thing that we're doing is we are finding the elapsed time. And so I always look at my hours and my minutes separately on this. So if I started at 4 o'clock p.m. and I ended at 7 o'clock p.m., if you notice my minutes on the right side, let me show this for you. Whenever I'm looking at my times, we'll try a different color there. Whenever I'm looking at my times, whatever's on the left would be hours, and whatever's on the right would be minutes. And so when I'm looking from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., I notice my minutes stayed the same. Whatever's here, they were both zeros. So I only need to talk about hours. And when I look at that, from 4 to 7 o'clock, I would go 4, 5, 6, 7, and I have had 3 hours pass. For our next one, 7:45 to 8:15, that gets a little different because you notice that our minutes also changed. And we do want to start with the minutes because sometimes changing our minutes is actually going to bump our hour. So we'll go ahead and check that. I'm going to do this with a clock model. So if you want a clock model on here, I'll zoom out a little bit here. I start with my 4 numbers in this corners and sides, that way they're spaced out evenly. These ones do both end in 5, so I won't bother with my lines. If I started at 7:45, I would go ahead and draw that on my clock. And then we would count to get to 8:15. Go ahead and count how many minutes that would take with me. Ready? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I got to that 15-minute mark here. I actually passed the 12, so my hour bumped from the 7 o'clock hour to the 8 o'clock hour, which means I'm already in 8:15 a.m., which means I only have to count my minutes, which was halfway around the clock, or 30 minutes. I am going to let you practice these 2 problems together, and then they will be on your slides, and then I'm going to show you sometimes they actually have hours and minutes. So let's look at this bottom one, 11:55 a.m. to 4:25 a.m. So we'll start by making our clock at 11:55. Okay. And we'll go ahead and go to 4:25. So I'm going to hop to the 25 marker, which is the 5. Ready? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So I'm just going to remind myself it was 30 minutes. Oops, sorry girls, you didn't see that. There you go. It was 30 minutes so far, which got me into the 12 o'clock hour. I need to get to the 4 o'clock hour. So from 12 to 4, we can see how many more hours we need to go. So this right now is 12:25. We're going to hop 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. So we're going to bump 4 hours and 30 minutes, and we'll write that just like this. Actually, I should put an S there. Okay. Go ahead and hop to your slides for a moment and look at this 2:17 to 7:17, and then 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and those will be your practice ones in your slides. Sometimes they are going to give us the start time and tell us how much time has passed, and we will need to find the end time. When this happens, again, you're going to look at those hour and minute chunks. In this first example here, it looks like the start time is 1 o'clock p.m. If 2 hours pass, I will only adjust my hour side of the clock. So I would go from 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., and that would be my end time, 3 o'clock. And then always remember that our times are labeled with either a.m. or p.m. In this case, we did not cross the 12, so we would stay with p.m. Our next example is hopping hours again. Go ahead and try this one on your own. From 4:15 a.m., if you were to change it 4 hours, what time do you think the new time would be? Pause if you need more time. If you said that the new time would be 8:15 a.m., you are correct. If you did not get that one right, keep paying attention and make sure that you ask questions if you continue missing some as we go on, okay? When they're asking us for minutes, it gets a little bit tougher. So let me just kind of adjust my papers here. If we started at 4:55 p.m. and we only went 18 minutes, that's when I would recommend going ahead and using your clock. So I've gone ahead and drawn my clock a little bigger here so that we can see. Since it's 18 minutes and it's not ending in a 5 or a 0, that's one where we're actually going to go ahead and have to make our minute markers in between these. I'm just going to rewrite it here for you so you can see this a little larger. So we're going to go from 4:55 plus 18 minutes. And so I would draw 4:55 and I would count 18 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and jump by 5s. 5, 10, 15. and then 16, 17, 18. What would 3 minutes after the 2 be? So you'd be thinking to yourself, we crossed the 12, we went from the 4 o'clock hour to the 5 o'clock hour. So it would be 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. That end time would be 5, 13 p.m. Again, there are going to be a couple practice problems where we're jumping hours and minutes. We'll go ahead and do these together. I'll do one together and have you do one on your slides. So make sure that you've got a clock drawn for yourself there that you can be working off of. We're going to start with 2:15 a.m. and we are going to add 1 hour and 15 minutes. Okay, adjust that screen there for you. There we go. So we would start by drawing 2:15. 2:15. We're going to go ahead and hop 1 hour. So instead of 2 o'clock, now it's going to be 3:15. And then we'll count 15 more minutes. 5, 10, 15. So now we ended with 3:30, right? 3:30 a.m. or p.m. If they started at a.m., we did not cross the 12 in our jumps, so our final answer will still be a.m. which hopefully you'd all be sleeping. Go ahead and try this next one on your own. We are going to start with 11:55 a.m. You're going to add 2 hours and 5 minutes to that. Be really careful with this one because you're going to notice that you would cross the 12. So what I would like you girls to do is go ahead and pause your screen so that you can work this one out on your own, on your clocks at home. And then when you're ready to check your answer, press play again. Okay, so now I'm ready to tell you your answer. We would start off by drawing 11:55 a.m. So I'm going to make this in between my 11 and 12, so it's in the 11 o'clock hour. 55, I know, would be pointing at that 11 on the clock as well. From 11:55, we're going to hop 2 hours. So from 11, I would hop to 12 to 1 o'clock. Then I would go 5 more minutes, which actually gets me to the 12, which means I hop hours again. So my minute hand would be pointing at the 12, my hour hand would be on the 2, so my final time would be 2 o'clock. And because it got to the 12 and passed, right, we went from being on this half of the clock to this half of the clock, we shifted from AM to PM now. We are now in the afternoon. So the final answer for that one should be 2 o'clock p.m. Go ahead and erase your clock, and we are going to continue practicing these. These ones I think are the toughest ones. They are going to give us a start time, or excuse me, they're going to give us our ending time, and we're going to count backwards to find our starting time. So if we ended at 4:15, and we're going to subtract 3 hours from that, we would say, okay, if we're going from 4:15 minus 3 hours would be 3:15, 2:15, 1:15. Our end time, or excuse me, our starting time would be 1:15 p.m. Something to always double check on these ones is that our start time has to be earlier than our end time. So make sure that we are counting backwards on those. We'll go ahead and do this next one together. If my end time is 2:45, and the time that passes is 15 minutes, so I'm going to subtract 15 minutes. we're looking for our start time again. So go ahead and draw 2:45. And remember, 5 times 9 is 45, so my minute hand's going to point to the 9. When you subtract 15 minutes, you have to go counterclockwise or make the numbers count down in your counting. So we go backwards. So we would count 5, 10, 15, and now instead of 2:45, we are going to end at 2:30 p.m. I will do one more with you guys, and then I'm gonna have you do one of these on your slides also today. So this one's gonna be your practice problem with me. If your end time is 11:55 a.m. and you are going back 2 hours and 35 minutes, we're gonna be subtracting that amount of time. We'll go ahead and start with 11:55. That's a familiar time for us now today. I would like you to practice this one on your clocks. You'll pause your screen and work it out, and then when you are ready to check your answer, please press play. So for now, pause and try to count back 2 hours and 35 minutes and see if you get the right answer. Okay, if you are ready for your answer, go ahead and continue with me. Otherwise, pause your screen for more work time. First, I would count back 2 hours. So instead of 11:55, it's 10:55, 9:55. So I've counted back 2 hours. Now I'm ready to go back 35 minutes. So I'll find that long minute hand and count back 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. That ends on the 4, so my time is 9:20. We were in AM and we have not passed the 12 on any of our countbacks, so we will stay as 9:20 AM for your final answer there. How'd you do? We're going to find out on your slides. I am going to have on your slides starting at 3:42 AM and counting back 1 hour and 20 minutes. But for right now, we are going to move on to some word problems. So okay, girls, I'm still in lesson 8, but this is activity 2. What is it? Let's go ahead and read the problem. And I did want to remind you, every time that we are working these out, first, you're going to identify the key information. Then you are going to represent the problem, whether you choose a clock or a number line. Third, you are going to solve and make sure that you label it. And remember that label is going to be AM or PM for time. Okay? So let's go ahead and read and be ready to do step 1. Loretta left her friend's house at 3:45 p.m. She had been there for 2 hours and 20 minutes. What time did she get there? She left the house at 3:45 p.m. That's definitely key information. She had been there for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and they want to know what time she got there. Now, we've always said that the key information is going to be the time chunks, but another thing that you need to think about is, are we adding time? Are we subtracting time? Or are we just finding the time that passed? So we need to make sure that we go through. This one says she left. She had been there. They want to know what time she got there. That means we have an end time, and we're going to have to subtract this elapsed time to find our starting time. So I would put a subtraction sign next to this problem to remind myself I'm counting backwards, right? I'm going to be looking for my starting time. So let's go ahead and work this one out. I'll do it on my clock. We've got 3:45 p.m. And you can practice this with me. 3:45. She was there for 2 hours, so we'll count. And my problem, I marked a subtraction sign, so I'm representing by counting backwards. 2 hours, we're in 1:45 now. And 20 minutes. So I'm going to go with my minute hand and count back 20. Count with me. 5, 10, 15, 20. My ending time is 1:25. So I have solved it. What's missing from my work? I need that label, right? This is going to be 1:25 p.m. for this problem. Go ahead and complete this next one with me, and we'll do this one on the clock, and then we'll do some number line review also. Numero 5. Let me get zoomed in so you can see this problem a little better. Berto spent from 3:45 p.m. to 4:15 p.m. doing math homework. And from 4:30 p.m. to 5:10 p.m. doing social studies homework. How much time did he spend on his math and social studies homework? Man, that's a trickier one. Let's find that key information. Berto spent from 3:45 p.m. to 4:15 p.m. doing math homework. Okay, I think I'm going to be trying to figure out how long between 3:45 and 4:15. And it says he spent from 4:30 p.m. to 5:10 p.m. doing social studies homework. Again, we'll try to find that elapsed time between those times. And we're trying to solve for how much time did he spend on his math and social studies homework. So I'm going to have to add those two elapsed times up because this one was math, this one was social studies. We need to figure out how much time he spent in all. I am going to do this one on my clock, and so we'll do this one together again. And I just jotted down that key information as I was working. He spent from 3:45 to 4:15 on math, and then from 4:30 to 5:10 on social studies. So let's start with the math chunk. 3:45. We need to figure out how much time passed between 3:45 and 4:15. So I'm going to go ahead and count my minutes. Ready? 5, 10, 15. Ooh, that 12 makes me move to the 4 o'clock hour. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and I get to stop because that's to the 15 marker. I am already in the 4 o'clock hour, so I have so far gone 30 minutes for math. And so I'm just going to jot that down to the side and rework on my clock. We're done with math. We just need to figure out how long he spent doing social studies now. He started social studies at 4:30 and he goes till 5:10. So we're going to count up to 5:10. Ready? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. That gets me into the 5 o'clock hour. We're going to keep counting until we get to 10 minutes after. 35, 40. Okay, that ends at 5:10, so that was 40 more minutes. Now here's what's tricky. When I add this up, this is 70 minutes. You could tell me that it took 70 minutes, but the smarter mathematicians are thinking, there's only 60 minutes in an hour, right? So I know that this is more than 1 hour. We just need to figure out how many minutes are left after that full hour. So to do that, you can subtract 60, because you know that there's 60 minutes in an hour, and figure out that's 1 hour, and 70 minus 60 is 10 minutes. 1 hour and 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and do one more together. Here we go. Mario finished swimming at 10:45 a.m. He swam for 1 hour and 15 minutes. What time did he start? Well, we have an end time, which was 10:45 a.m. Our elapsed time, which we'll subtract because we have our end time, which was 1 hour and 15 minutes. And we're trying to figure out what time he started. Let's go ahead and draw 10:45 on our clocks. I would like you girls to practice this one on your own, counting back 1 hour and 15 minutes to figure out what time did he start. Go ahead and pause your screen so that you can work it out and press play when you are ready to hear the answer. All right, from 10:45, we're going to go back 1 hour to 9:45. Then we are going to count back 15 more minutes. Ready for my minute hand? 5, 10, 15. That gets me to 9:30. But I'm not quite done. I need to make sure that I have a label. If we started at 10:45 a.m. and we've only gone back this far, it is 9:30 a.m. That would have been his start time for swimming. Good. I'm going to put another one on your slides, and it is here about cleaning your room. I'm going to change the name up a little bit. And so I'm going to change it to Ava and Kendall, and that will be a practice problem on your slides today, okay? Good job, girls. Hey ladies, for lesson 3-8, you do not need to do the homework page because you have had so much practice during this lesson today. I would like you to complete the remembering page. And so remembering reviews some fact practice at the top. There are 2 word problems that are regular word problems just to practice your multiplication and divisions. And then there are 3 time problems that I would like you to do. Stretch your thinking is another time one. It is really tricky. And so if you are wanting to stretch your brains and your parents are stuck on that one, absolutely email me, let me know, or we can talk about it at our next Zoom. Otherwise, I'm not super worried about stretch your thinking. However, I do want the review problems from 1 through 8, and then there are 3 clock problems, 9, 10, and 11, that I want you to get done. Good luck on your remembering 3-8.